Today we shall discuss about another interesting, lesser known pearl in Ignatian spirituality, namely vainglory. St. Ignatius, in the spiritual exercises, the first annotation states that the purpose of the spiritual exercises is to prepare and to get rid of disordered affections. And once order is brought into one's life, to seek and find God's will for that person. Now, St. Ignatius, in his personal life, had gone through several instances of this sort of disordered affections. And one of the most outstanding disordered affections that St. Ignatius points to in his autobiography is vainglory. He states already how he had suffered due to vainglory. The worldly glory, to be successful, to be famous, to live a life that is in conformity with the so-called high society. We know that St. Ignatius had suffered due to vainglory in the preface to the autobiography written by the one who had taken the responsibility to listen to St. Ignatius' description of the pilgrim's journey and write them for the posterity, that is Father da Camara. Let us listen to what Father da Camara writes in the preface to the memoir, the autobiography of St. Ignatius. This is what Father Luis Gonzalves da Camara writes. I began to give him an account of some particulars concerning my soul. Among other things, I spoke to him of vainglory. As a remedy, the Father told me to refer everything of mine frequently to God, striving to offer Him all the good I found in myself, acknowledging it as His, and giving Him thanks for it. He spoke to me about this in a manner that greatly consoled me, so that I could not restrain my tears. Thus the Father told me how he had been bothered by this vice for 2 years, so much so that when he embarked from Barcelona to Jerusalem, he did not dare tell anyone that he was going to Jerusalem. And in the autobiography, we have several references to the pilgrim St. Ignatius pointing to his propensity to vainglory. We see already the very beginning of this autobiography. In number 1, St. Ignatius begins as follows. Up to the age of 26, he was a man given to the follies of the world, and what he enjoyed most was exercise with arms, having a great and foolish desire to win fame. So we are told that Ignatius, prior to his being wounded at the battle of Pamplona, was a man given to the worldly desires to be famous. He was a man of vainglory. And in his spiritual journey, in his spiritual pilgrimage, as it were, St. Ignatius will find ways and means of overcoming this vainglory. From his desire for the worldly desires, worldly glory, he would convert himself into desire for God's glory. And we see how he is struggling with his desire for vainglory. In number 19, of the autobiography, he talks about how he is responding to his natural urge to be famous, to present himself as a handsome man, one who can win the hearts of other people. We read in number 19. Because he had been very fastidious in taking care of his hair, as was the fashion at that time, and his was handsome, he decided to let it go its way according to nature, without combing or cutting it or covering it with anything by night or day. For the same reason, he let the nails grow on toes and fingers, because he had been fastidious in this too. Here we see how Ignatius is trying to practice agire contra, to act against his natural urge to overcome certain disordered affections. William A. McCormick, while talking about Ignatius' vainglory in the autobiography, says this following. The autobiography portrays Ignatius' gripping education in the periods of vainglory and pride. In the early pages of the autobiography, we see at least 3 instances of vainglory. As a pretext to write the text, with regard to his famous recovery from the cannonball and its role in the discernment of spirits. We see that Ignatius is grappling with this vice even as he is convalescing and undertaking the pilgrimage. And he would find an antidote which he recommended to his secretary da Camara, to move the focus from oneself onto God, from desire for worldly glory to desire for God's glory. And this is the best antidote that he had learned from his personal experience, and he would recommend the same for his sons in the Society of Jesus. So here in the autobiography, we see Ignatius' attempt to overcome vainglory and instruct others on how to resist the temptation. Thus we see how Ignatius had found a solution for this haunting vice, the vainglory, and it is thanks to his personal experiences and his observations in the spiritual exercises how we too can overcome this vice, vainglory. Saint Ignatius of Loyola, pray for us.